that critic that lives rent-free inside your head. You know, it sounds a little bit like a bad Burt Bacharach song. Rent-free critics living in my head. Okay, look, I wasn't in choir, and I think we can see why. My brother took me to a revival of Swept Away when I was a teenager. And this was the Lena Wertmuller version, not the Madonna version. She was nominated for Best Director, by the way. First woman to be nominated for Best Director, and for a foreign language film to boot in 1975. I digress. It was a very intense drama that equated love and sex with politics. And it all took place on this lone, deserted island in the Aegean Sea. It was basically an adult retelling of Taming of the Shrew. Thanks to my brother's influence and me being a nerd and having a very askew view on the way the world worked, I actually thought that my friends would be impressed by my film exposure. Well, I didn't really date till my 20s. I wanted to be a filmmaker my whole life. Some people think that that must be such a relief to know what it is you want to do at such an early age. Well, it wasn't. I was afraid to take the steps that I needed to take. I didn't do what I should have done, which was pick up stakes and move to Los Angeles. I rationalized. I said, oh, well, if I move to Los Angeles, I'm gonna get like strung out on coke in the first 5 months. That alone is hysterical because there is no way on God's green earth I was ever gonna try coke. I'd be too paranoid, and quite honestly, with my allergies, so I came up with a wimpy solution. I'll be a film critic. That way I can watch, review, opine, and stay local. Criticism is easy. You get to be snarky. You get to downgrade filmmakers for their efforts and call them derivative. And you get to get into movies for free. I eventually became a film critic at the University of Georgia. This is not the University of Georgia. It's an elementary school. This is where the self-criticism starts. Not to get all postmodern or anything. Once you've seen enough, everything starts to resemble something else. Oh, I've seen this in this movie. I've seen that in this other movie. I've seen this in another movie. It becomes very deconstructive. And it gets real easy to be dismissive. Any filmmaker's attempts are just simply ripping off somebody else. The difference between me and Tarantino, besides the success and the acclaim, is that he's based his personal library on movies that he loved. My movies were based on critical feedback. Movies that earned an upturned digit or 4 stars or more. Quentin had a love of movies. I had a snobbery. I was about today years old when I realized that I had let professional film critics not only guide my movie tutelage, but heavily influenced what I considered to be worthy of enjoyment. The problem with snobbery is it infuses everything you do creatively. It was difficult for me to develop as a writer because I couldn't just develop the way everybody else does. I wouldn't allow myself to be subpar. First scripts, they had to be worthy of Coppola or Paddy Chayefsky or even Elaine May. I mean, imagine that, thinking that right out of the gate, I had to write something worthy or comparable to Apocalypse Now or Network or Tootsie for that matter. Are my scripts that good? Is that what I'm going to tell any future management company? Hell no. I'm going to tell them I'm the second coming. Half of this industry is bullshit anyway. And the secret to effective bullshit is believing it. And believing it well enough to act it. Ah, look at that, method acting. The most fragile part of filmmaking is what takes place inside the writer's head. Is the script good enough? Does the script need another pass? Or is this a script where everybody finds out that I'm a hack? I got into this business when I realized I didn't have a choice. I had to risk the humiliation. I had to put myself out there. I had to choose my craft over seeing my friends and socializing, over pursuing what probably would have been a much more lucrative career in another industry. My trip to Delusionville began once I wrote this script that I got to a friend of a friend who was in the industry. This person read it and very nicely said, if you can afford to do this, you should do this. And it is by far probably the worst advice that I've ever followed. I'm an avid free marketer, and I naively believe that if I'm good at what I do, I will be successful. Well, 2 kids and a couple of near misses, and here I am, looking for representation. It's ironic, talking about trying to get one critic out of your head, that I would secretly wish that there would be this manifestation of a critic, someone corporeal who would come up to me and verbalize all my worst fears out loud. Maybe somebody like that character from The Simpsons, I forgot his name, the bully, who could just sit there and go, ha ha, you're a loser. It'd make life a lot easier, because then I could just go on and do something else. Well, thanks to the internet, we're all critics now. But if we're all critics, doesn't that mean that nobody's a critic? I mean, maybe that's the secret to all of this. Maybe that internal critic just makes you stronger. The fact is, sometimes an internal critic can help you. If that critic is making you write a tighter script or go back and revise it for the 17th time, that's a good thing, right? It's just where it gets dangerous, where you listen to it so much that you talk to somebody and it's, how many drafts are you in? Well, 56. Or to quote Bill Murray from Tootsie, I'm gonna rewrite the bow tie scene without the bow tie. When you get to that type of minutia, maybe it's time to invite that internal critic out for a drink or something.